Ori Givati es miembro y director de la organización Breaking the Silence, una organización de soldados israelíes veteranos que prestaron su servicio militar en los territorios ocupados. ¿Ellos a qué se han dedicado? A contar las experiencias que han vivido en el terreno en medio de ese histórico enfrentamiento entre Israel y Palestina. A ellos les han llovido críticas desde distintas instancias en Israel. Incluso el primer ministro Benjamín Netanyahu los ha criticado por contar lo que no se debería contar. Por favor, David, saludemos al señor Ori Givati y pregúntele qué tanto nos miente Israel a la hora de dar a conocer lo que pasa en las zonas donde hace incursión su ejército.
Good morning, Mr. Givati. Thank you very much for your time today at W Radio. And let us begin by asking you, in your opinion, how much does Israel lies about what's really going on during this ground invasion?
Hi, thank you for having me. Look, I think that what we're seeing now in the occupied territories in Gaza is very clear. It started with a terrible atrocity, massacre, slaughter of my society in the south of Israel, and continued with war, heavy ground invasion that is now ongoing. I think that we don't. I have no idea. I wouldn't portray the situation now as Israel lies about what's going on, and it's not what we as former soldiers talk about. So maybe I'll just clarify that Breaking the Silence, the organization that I am part of, I was also a soldier in the occupied territories, is doing something very simple. We are basically bringing our testimonies from the missions that we were sent to do in Gaza, in the West Bank, checkpoints, home invasions, patrols, dispersion of protests. Basically, the missions that we were sent to do in order to control, to occupy the Palestinian people, because most of the people, Israelis and internationals, don't really know what an occupation is. And I think that if I will take your question on a broader perspective, what I feel as an Israeli who was serving there, who was sent to serve there by my country, is that I was lied to about the intention of the occupation, because in the end of the day, many of our missions that we're conducting on a day-to-day basis in order to control the Palestinians are there in order to entrench and expand the occupation itself and not secure us. And this is what I think we have to remember, because one of the failures that led us to this atrocity against our people is that instead of taking care of our security, our government took care of the occupation itself.
Pues nos dice que lo que están viendo en los territorios ocupados es claro. Todo comenzó con esa terrible masacre en el sur de Israel y continuó con la guerra e invasión terrestre que está ocurriendo ahora en la Franja de Gaza. Nos dice que él no diría que Israel está mintiendo ahora sobre lo que está pasando. Nos dice que como ex soldado y como representante de esta organización Rompiendo el Silencio no hablan de esto. La organización tiene una misión muy clara y es controlar a los palestinos en estas zonas ocupadas, porque nos dice que Israel realmente no sabe qué es una ocupación, que el origen de todo esto es porque pues no están cuidando la seguridad en Israel. El fracaso a la seguridad en Israel llevó a todo eso y por eso muchas misiones en las que ellos participan buscan controlar a los palestinos que están ahí.
Señor Givati, ¿qué opina usted de la operación militar que se está llevando en este momento en Gaza y las consecuencias que se están viviendo en Cisjordania?
What is your opinion about the current military operation that's taking place in Gaza and the consequences that are also being felt in the West Bank?
Look, I think that what we all have to remember, and it's very hard because we are traumatized and we suffered losses of family members, of friends. By the way, a lot of peace activists were also murdered and massacred in 7th of October. What we all have to remember is that revenge is not a plan. And killing thousands and thousands of Palestinians will not bring back our friends and families that were slaughtered. What we demand from our government is a safe future and a political goal for all of this. In the end of the day, Israelis will be here and Palestinians will be here. And it doesn't matter how many Palestinians we kill, that will stay the situation. So what we all have to aspire for is a political end to this, a political goal, and not only act from the place of revenge. You know, we also have over 240 hostages in Gaza now. And the first and most important thing that we have to do before anything else is bring those people back home before we do or try to achieve any other goal. So this is what we have to remember. It's a very difficult situation. Israel has the right to defend its citizens like any other country. And after Hamas did what they did, Israel must defend its citizens. But revenge is not security. We have to have a plan of how do we make this place safer for everyone. And it's devastating to see the amount of innocent people in Gaza that are being killed. And this will not bring us anywhere better than we are now.
Él no cree que la muerte de inocentes en la franja de Gaza los vaya a llevar a un lugar mejor en el que están ahora. Nos dice que obviamente hay que recordar la difícil situación que ocurrió aquel 7 de octubre. Obviamente están traumatizados y sufrieron mucho por esas pérdidas de familiares y amigos en ese ataque de Hamás a Israel, pero nos dice que matar a miles de palestinos no va a traer a sus familiares de vuelta. Por eso lo que le están pidiendo al gobierno es una meta política, una propuesta de seguridad, porque al final del día siempre Israel va a estar al lado de los palestinos y pues esta situación no va a cambiar con un acto de venganza. Hay que recordar también a los 240 secuestrados que están en la franja de Gaza y lo más importante es traerlos sanos y salvos antes de lograr cualquier otra meta. Por supuesto que Israel tiene derecho a defender a sus ciudadanos, pero hay que tener un plan de cómo hacer ese lugar más seguro para todos.
Su organización recopila testimonios de tropas que sirvieron en los territorios ocupados. En este momento los territorios ocupados se está viendo cómo los colonos están atacando a aldeas palestinas y los obligan a salir de allí. ¿Qué testimonios tiene usted de ocasiones anteriores en los que los colonos han actuado contra los palestinos en zonas de la Cisjordania ocupada?
Your organization has... you understood. Go ahead.
I understood the question, yeah. Okay, I think this is a very, very important issue to talk about, especially now. Because what we are seeing in the West Bank since the beginning of the war is a huge escalation in settler violence against Palestinians. Over 13 Palestinian villages, communities were already forced out and basically packed up their stuff and moved somewhere else because of the danger from the violence of the settlers. And when we talk about that, we have to remember that, you know, everywhere we have violent people. That's not unique to Israel. But what is unique at this moment in the West Bank is that those violent people, those settlers, are receiving the backing of the state. And here we're talking about a very, very clear situation where there is a forcible transfer of Palestinian people. It's done by heavy violence, sometimes even with weapons, by the settlers. And we as an organization have a lot of testimonies about this. This is not new. It's not from this war. We talked about it also 20 years ago. Yeah, it's not something new, but it's growing and growing and growing. And now during the war is at its peak. It was never, ever as bad as it is now. And we have many testimonies from soldiers talking about how settler violence was not enforced. They were not given the correct tools in order to enforce settler violence. I can tell you about myself. I served in the occupied territories in 2016. That was the last time. I was never mentioned even about the possibility of settler violence. So the entire system is in complete denial about this phenomena. And basically, we as a country and as a military, it's a decision not to do anything about it. And this is very, very clear. And I think from here, it's really important to say very, very publicly from this stage that the only power at this moment that can stop settler violence in the international community, and the international community must act right now in order to stop it.
Nos dice que es muy importante hablar de eso porque si hay un pico de violencia en Cisjordania desde el comienzo de esta guerra. Nos dice que no es nuevo porque por supuesto esta violencia siempre ha estado presente, pero nos dice que desde que escaló esta guerra 13 comunidades palestinas han sido forzadas de irse del lugar y movidas por el peligro de la violencia. Así que nos dice que estos episodios violentos, aunque no son nuevos, sí se están, digamos, poniendo mucho más fuertes en este momento y hay que alzar la voz al respecto porque pues se ha estado en negación sobre este fenómeno por mucho tiempo y pues ahora es el momento de actuar y de, por ejemplo, servir para todos esos testimonios que él mismo vivió en 2016 cuando hizo el servicio en el territorio ocupado y donde se mencionó también este fenómeno.
Durante mucho tiempo se ha dicho que la solución pasa por el reconocimiento de los dos estados y el derecho de los dos estados a existir. ¿Cree que después de esta guerra ese objetivo está más lejos de lo que estaba antes de que comenzara esta guerra?
Yeah, I understood. I think that in the end of the day, before talking about which solution, two state, one state, there are many different options. The most important thing we have to understand is that we are all equal, that we all the solution needs to stem from the fact that we are all equal. And if we understand that we are all equal, we can go to two states, we can go to one state, we can go to a confederation and many other solutions. But equality must be the foundation of any future agreement. Now, is the two-state solution further away after the 7th of October and everything that's been going on now in Gaza? It's a difficult question. I think that in the end of the day, it's still possible. And the problem that we always have to solve is not what is the best solution, is that we need to want a solution. We need enough people from both sides to understand that this cannot go on in the way it's been going on until now. And I think that choosing a solution would be an easier problem once there is enough political will to solve the situation. And we are not seeing that, not from my government, definitely until today.
Well, Ori, thank you so much for your time in W Radio. It's been a pleasure having you on your show.
Of course, thank you.
¿Cree que antes de hablar de una solución de los dos estados hay muchas opciones distintas a estas, pero también nos dice que lo más importante antes de pensar en esto es que hay que reconocer que son iguales? Si se entiende que son iguales, pues se puede hablar de un estado o dos estados o de confederaciones. Nos dice que la igualdad debe ser la fundación de ese acuerdo. Nos dice que responder ahora mismo si estamos más lejos o cerca de esa solución de los dos estados después de lo que ocurrió el 7 de octubre es una pregunta muy difícil, pero pues al final del día lo que se necesita es voluntad política para llegar a esa solución.